Our gospel reading this morning comes from the gospel according to Luke. In Luke chapter 13, we'll begin reading at verse 31. So, as you know, we're now in the season of Lent. So we're starting to walk that journey with Jesus towards the cross. So as we get closer, you're going to hear more and more references to this that is coming before him. So you'll hear some of that in today's reading. At that time, some Pharisees came to Jesus and said to him, "Leave this place and go somewhere else. Herod wants to kill you." Jesus replied, "Go tell that fox, I will keep on driving out demons and healing people today and tomorrow, and on the third day I will reach my goal. In any case, I must press on today and tomorrow and the next day, for surely no prophet can die outside Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those who sent you, how often I have longed to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing. Look, your house is left to you desolate. I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, 'Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.'" This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Let us pray. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of each of our hearts be pleasing to you, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. If any of you are my Facebook friend, I'm just going to do a mini rant. Poor Erica has heard this so many times in the month of March, but it's an educational moment, not a rant. I'll reclaim it. Please don't say Happy St. Patty's Day. I don't know who St. Patricia is that my American siblings keep celebrating, but it's St. Patty's Day with 2 D's. So if you want to shorten it, feel free. And the reason is, so I say that as someone that when I moved here, I was like, why do they keep doing this? I understand, it looks like that's what it would be. The reason it's with 2 D's is because in Irish, Padraig is Patrick. So that's where it comes from. So I take a deep breath and try to understand and be more pastoral and understanding. So happy St. Patty's Day and St. Patrick and St. Pat. I'm sure St. Patricia was wonderful, but this is not her day. So we've got that out of the way. But this is the day also when my Scottish friends tell me, well, everyone wants to be Irish on the 17th of March, apart from us, because we always want to be Scottish. So, as someone who grew up on that little island, the day today that the world turned green for, it really has always fascinated me, and my friends and I talk about this. We're like, are we really that good? You know, you look at all these world landmarks that start to turn green. Like it really is fascinating. That this small place, and I think it's part of it's our immigration histories. And this morning, you've got one of those modern day immigrants from that little island, or that wee island of Ireland. But as I watch and often participate in St. Patrick's Day celebrations here in my new home of the United States, it never ceases to amaze me that I think we can always forget some of the irony of these modern day celebrations, of which I can completely throw myself into. On this day, many Americans claim their Irish heritage, drink green beer, which hurts my soul, and they pinch folks who aren't wearing green, which again, I had never had happen to me until I moved here. I was like, my blood is green, you do not pinch me. But if we look at this deeper story of these people who came to a new land, and that I think, is at the heart of, especially for Irish Americans, what they celebrate on this day. They left a place, their ancestors left a place that they loved, And they came to these shores, many of whom have built a life for themselves and for generations to come. And yet, some of this narrative leaves out that depth of struggle that those early Irish immigrants to this land had. You know, we all know that Irish were not initially welcomed when they came here. They weren't initially welcomed when they went over just that short journey across the Irish Sea to England either. And I always on this day think we should reclaim this as Immigration Awareness Day for St. Patrick's Day. There's an article that I read in the New York Times in 2012, and I often return to it on this day. The article is entitled, It's about immigrants, not Irishness. And the author, Peter Behrens, writes, it's embarrassing to listen to prosperous 21st century Americans with Irish surnames to lavish on Mexican or Central American immigrants those same slurs, dark, dirty, violent, ignorant, that were once slapped on our own, possibly shoeless forebears. The Irish were seen as unclean, immoral, and dangerously enthralled to a bizarre religion. They were said to be peculiarly prone to violence. So that's what was said about so many of those Irish immigrants that on this day we now turn green for. So I always have to say that on St. Patrick's Day, and let's remember that. When we hear those slurs put on our modern immigrants from other countries that I don't receive now, let's not forget that it once happened to people who looked like us and who sounded more like me. So in this second Sunday of Lent, let's reflect on that. And as I reflected on those stories of so many of the immigrants who continue to face judgment and persecution, and then as I meditated on this gospel reading for today, there was one phrase that kept coming to mind. And it's the phrase that I used for the title of this sermon, Holy Courage. I think many immigrants, both now and then, they show a depth of courage and strength as they risk life in a new land. And I think in our gospel reading today, Jesus shows incredible holy courage. Jesus has a choice to make. He chooses how to respond to this threat from Herod, from the king. The Pharisees come to Jesus and they say, get away from here because Herod wants to kill you. The Pharisees, well, they're giving him a warning, or maybe it's a trick, we don't know. But people in power, they've often felt threatened by Jesus. This is a different King Herod than when Jesus was born, but that King Herod too, he tried to kill Jesus, so much so that Mary and Joseph had to flee as refugees to Egypt to keep Jesus alive. People in power feel threatened by this Jesus guy. But Jesus, he doesn't let their threats stop his ministry. They don't succeed in threatening Jesus. Jesus knows how this story is going to end. He knows the pain, but he also knows the life that is going to end it. He also knows that he stands for something very different than what Herod stands for. When the Pharisees say, Herod wants to kill you, the Greek word that's translated as want could also be desires, wants, or wishes. And this is the same word that Jesus then uses in his response. And I think we lose a bit of that wordplay in our current translation. So when Jesus says, how often have I desired to gather your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you were not willing. I think he uses that same word as Herod used deliberately. So we translate them identically and then listen. So the Pharisees say, Herod wants to kill you. Jesus saying, well, you know what I want to do? How often have I wanted to gather your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings? Herod wants to kill and destroy. Jesus wants to care for and protect. Jesus does not hold back in his response to this news from Herod. He doesn't back down, and he doesn't step into this place of fear. When Jesus' life is threatened by the king through these Pharisees, Jesus says, "Go and tell that fox for me, I've still got work to do." Jesus is showing that in this journey to Jerusalem, in this journey to his death, well, it's going to be on his terms, not on Herod's terms. Jesus isn't playing around. As you can see, I love this version of Jesus. Jesus knows that his time is limited, and Jesus speaks with intensity in this passage. He's coming close to the end of his earthly ministry. He's not playing around. He's got stuff he needs to do. And it's true, I think when we know that something's about to end, there is more urgency. We do get a lot more intense about what we need to do. This past week, I experienced an ending. My family experienced an ending. My aunt, my dad's sister, passed away on Wednesday after a prolonged battle with cancer. And as my aunt moved towards the end of her earthly life, well, the conversations, well, they changed. They changed. The family were more open in expressing love for one another. My aunt, well, she, right to the end, she was also a very defiant woman. The doctors actually started to call my aunt Jesus because she's been battling this for like 2 years, and her heart stopped twice in those 2 years, and she came back. So they were like, I don't know how she keeps coming back. But last week she was ready, and she said goodbye and went to sleep and never woke up again. But before she said goodbye, she said, there's going to be a wake in this house soon, so you need to start getting it cleaned. So I think she wasn't ready. And she lay there in her bed and directed operations about getting that house clean because there was going to be a lot of people in it in the next couple of weeks. So my aunt had a lot of urgency in the end. So Jesus has this urgency. He knows that his earthly death is coming. He's got people to heal. He's got things to do before he goes. And not anyone, not even that fox, Herod, is going to get in his way. Now remember, this is the king he's talking about. And he's calling him a fox. Jesus, well, he displays holy courage in the face of threats and in the face of death. You know, as we entered into this season of Lent, we engaged in that ancient Christian tradition of Ash Wednesday. That day when we come together and we remember our own mortality. I think that is also an act of holy courage. We wear this mark on our foreheads, this mark of death, and we're told, from dust you came, and to dust you shall return. We walk around with that symbol on to say that we are a people who do not fear death. I also think it can remind us, well, let's not wait until the end to have those conversations. Let's not wait until the end to act with urgency. Jesus isn't playing around in this passage. He calls Herod out. He calls out the fox in their midst. So what or who are the foxes in our midst today? What is it that's trying to destroy our communities or trying to destroy us? We could stay here all day naming a lot of the foxes in our world and the foxes in our midst. Many of the immigrants I spoke about at the beginning, today and in the past, are fleeing from a fox, something that wants to destroy them and their communities. One fox that I spend my days calling out on my day-to-day work is the fox of addiction. The disease of addiction, well, it wants to kill and destroy. In 2017, 1,565 people died of opioid overdoses in the state of Kentucky. That's an average of 4 people every day. And that's only opioid overdoses. It's not all the other deaths from addiction-related illness. It's 4 circles of families every day, 4 circles of friends destroyed by that addiction that ravages so many of our communities. You know, in this week, we've seen the fox of Islamophobia, of extremism and violence take 50 people from this. 50 people who went to their place of prayer to pray in Christchurch, New Zealand. Those 50 people will not return to their families or their communities. All too often, people have gone to their places of prayer. We've seen it in Charleston, in a Christian church. We've seen it in Pittsburgh with our Jewish siblings. And we've seen it in New Zealand with our Muslim siblings. You know, I saw a photograph, I think it was Manchester in England, but it was someone from one of the local churches. He went and he stood outside it and he held up a sign. This was on just after the news from New Zealand, and said, "I'll keep watch while you pray." And so groups from that church came and stood around the mosque in Manchester and said, we will make sure that you're safe while you pray. We'll make sure that fox, that extremism, that white nationalism does not come in to your place of prayer. And let us not let it come into our place of prayer. And if it's in our place of prayer, let us do all we can to get rid of it. Because as that prayer that the denomination sent us, we are all made in the image of God, and we all hold the divine in us. So when one of us is destroyed, no matter what our faith is, one of God's beloved children is destroyed. When Jesus stood up to that threat of death and he says, you go and tell that fox, well, I've got work to do. He's saying that, see that one that wants to destroy? Well, it's not going to stop Jesus. Evil is not going to stop that life-giving message of God's love and God's freedom. So as we continue on the journey, and I'm telling you, this is why people ask me all the time, why do you want to be in the church? Like, the mainline churches are dying, actually. Why have you just become a pastor? Like, this is not job security, right? Like, this is not a wise choice at 32 to say, okay, I'm a new pastor and I'm committing myself to this denomination, right? All logic goes out the window. But this is why I stay, because I think we have this life-giving message. I want to be part of a church that surrounds the mosque, that surrounds the synagogues, that says, we are going to keep you safe. We're going to call out that fox. And that's the message of Jesus. The message of Jesus has been so tainted and so misused in a way to justify some of these actions. So we want to talk about blasphemy and what blasphemy is. I think that's what it is right there. If we're going to use the name of God to justify an action to hurt one of God's children, I don't think God likes that, and God's calling that out. So may we not live in fear of those foxes, but may we continue to hold steadfast to that good news that it is love that will win. It is life that will win. It is freedom, not addiction, that has the final word. It is not death that will endure, but life. If we're not welcomed by people, like so many who have come to this shore and into our churches, well, you know what? We will always and forever be welcomed by God. So may we, the Church of Jesus Christ, you know what? If we start getting smaller, so what? Let's still live out that holy courage, that calling of Jesus to live out freedom, love, and radical welcome. And I have a feeling if we start doing that, people will think, oh, maybe that church thing isn't quite what I thought it was. I might want to go and join in that movement of love. And may we do it even even under the threat of death. So I want to close. I want to close by using a version of the Lord's Prayer. It's probably one of my favorite versions out there, and it comes from the New Zealand prayer book, from the Anglican Church of the Church of New Zealand. So let's listen to these words and think, how can we commit ourselves to this life of calling out the foxes and this life of holy courage that Jesus calls each of us to? Eternal Spirit, eternal Maker, pain bearer, life giver, source of all that is and shall be, Father and Mother of us all, loving God in whom is heaven, the hallowing of your name echo through the universe. The way of your justice be followed by the peoples of the world. Your heavenly will be done by all created beings. Your commonwealth of peace and freedom sustain our hope and come on earth. With the bread we need for today, feed us. In the hurts we absorb from one another, forgive us. In times of temptation and test, strengthen us. From trials too great to endure, spare us. From the grip that all is evil, free us. For your reign in the glory of the power that is love, now and forever. Amen. Amen.